the Illinois pork producers, and Jerry Toohill and your Central Illinois Stone Seed dealers.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. My guest on the phone today is Mrs. Mary Vogt. She is the superintendent of Bement Schools. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Mrs. Vogt, a good morning. How are you today?
I am doing well, Seth. Good morning to you too.
Well, thanks for coming on and making time for us. And I was telling you off the air, I had your stepson Jack on at halftime of the football game in Monticello on Friday, and I told you if I've got the students coming up for an interview, whether it's at football or basketball or baseball, I ask them if they let their parents know that they're coming on, and so I'll ask you this: like, did you tell your kids you're going to be on the radio today?
Seth, I didn't. I did tell Brent, my fiance. I told him that I would be on the radio today. So I appreciate his support. If he's not able to listen while I'm live on the air, he always goes back and finds the interview. So
cool.
That's pretty special.
Cool.
Now, I have sent the link before to all the kids, and can you believe they have not gone and listened to it? I can't even imagine why they would to hear me.
Who knew that youth wouldn't be into discussion about, the logistics and the politics of education? Like, man, who knew,
I know. It's just so hard to wrap my head around.
But hey, at least we're trying, right? So,
Right.
Mrs. Vogt, let's dive into a fun topic here today. I know you've got homecoming in Bement next week, and, for districts like Bement and probably Cerro Gordo and, the districts in Southern Piatt County, Northern Moultrie County, there's probably a lot of collaboration that has to go on to make these types of things a success. So first of all, let's highlight Bement homecoming, though. What's going on next week?
Absolutely. What I love about our community is we can honor the traditions that have been in place for years. So as you know, we co-op sports with Cerro Gordo. So we have children from both communities on our football team, which typically is the big highlight for homecoming week. But our football team plays in Cerro Gordo most of their season. But for Bement's homecoming, we have the football game here in Bement. We have a wonderful facility, and I am just so excited that our alum get to come back, watch football here in their hometown. We have activities leading up to that Friday. We have a bonfire chili supper coming up on Wednesday, and then, of course, the parade next Friday, where we will have all of the Cerro Gordo middle school and high school students will come over for our parade. The students who are involved in the activities will ride in the parade. And Seth, we did the same thing when Cerro Gordo had their homecoming a few weeks ago. We took all of our middle school and high school students to that parade so that they could participate in the floats, and the students not involved in a sport or an activity could watch and support their peers. So
Cool.
I love that we're able to honor the traditions while we're still collaborating with our neighboring districts.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I learned on Saturday before the homecoming dance here in Bement, there is an alumni banquet, and we get alumni from all. I'm telling you, it's not just the reunion year who comes to the banquet. It is anyone who is an alumni is invited, and I get to give a speech at that. And so I learned that that's another duty as a superintendent I wasn't thinking about. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to connecting with the people who have supported our district for years. And then after that alumni banquet, we'll have the dance and king and queen coronation, and wrap up that homecoming week.
Well, and that's probably, as you enter a new role as the superintendent of Bement schools, there's probably those little tradition things that you're going to be learning about over the next year or so here that, that make these types of, homecomings, proms, spirit weeks, all those things that districts do. There's going to be those little nuances that make Bement special.
Absolutely. And if you can believe, today is the last day of first quarter. So we are already 1/4 of the way done with the school year. We only have 3/4 left to make this year just continue being amazing and fantastic. And I can't believe how quickly it has gone. Thinking about what we have coming up second quarter, just school related. We have a number of things going on, but then Seth, if you think about it, during second quarter is also when we have Halloween, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas. And when you think about all of those things that we'll be involved in outside of our school life, it's just going to go by in a flash.
Well, getting back to the collaboration piece as it
Yes.
relates to homecoming, how about, why those collaborations are so important? And, obviously, I'm sure that whether it's Cerro Gordo and I mentioned, that's kind of southern Piatt County, northern Moultrie County area, I venture to guess everybody is willing to do what it takes to make homecoming in each community special.
Absolutely. And I had a conversation with some fifth graders a few weeks ago. It was a football Friday, and one was wearing his Broncos JFL jersey. The other had a Bement t-shirt on. And one of them asked why we don't have our own football team anymore. And I said, well, if we had our own football team, right now Bement has 5 athletes on the CGB football team, and Cerro Gordo has 20. I said, now 25 is not really a lot for a football team, considering you need 11 men on the field, but by working together, we're able to have a football team. If they tried to do it on their own, it probably wouldn't happen. If we tried to do it on our own, we know it wouldn't happen. So we need to work together. And the other young man was listening, and then he says, Mrs. Vogt, Bement and Cerro Gordo used to be each other's biggest rivals, but now we're best friends and we work together. I just thought, you've got it, man. You hit the nail on the head. And I feel like what we're doing on the field and in the classroom is what is helping our districts thrive, because our band director resigned at the end of last school year. You want to talk finding a needle in a haystack, try to find a band director for a district our size. And so what we've ended up doing is the band director from Cerro Gordo comes over to Bement the last hour of the day so that our students still have band. And then the Bement students and Cerro Gordo students play together, in the homecoming parade. They'll have their concerts together. Our industrial tech teacher starts his day in Cerro Gordo, so that they can have an industrial tech program, and then finishes his day here. Same with ag. Their ag teacher starts her day here in Bement and then finishes in Cerro Gordo. So, it's not just on the field, but it's also in the classroom. And I feel like what we're doing by collaborating and cooperating is what is best for the kids.
Yeah. And it's interesting. You were talking about those kids talking about the rivalry between Cerro Gordo and Bement. And I don't know how long that co-op has been going on, but I remember talking when Coach Curley was still the football coach there at CGB. They had a big win, and it may have been a homecoming win. I'm not even positive, but he said, the interesting thing was a picture showed up in the paper the next day, and you had 3 kids, their arms around each other celebrating the victory. He said, and this was when the co-op also included D-Land Weldon, and he said you had a kid from Weldon, you had a kid from Cerro Gordo, you had a kid from Bement. In that picture, their arms around each other's shoulders celebrating their win as teammates. He said 10 years ago, those kids would not have liked each other at all because they were such bitter rivals.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And I feel like sometimes, you and I have talked about some of the learning loss and social setbacks that we've suffered from COVID. But on the other hand, I do feel like our kids are ahead of where our communities were 20 years ago, because they understand the importance of working together and what we try to teach about respect. And even if somebody is different, that doesn't make them wrong. I do feel like we are getting through to them, and they understand that we do need to work together in order to make this happen.
Stellar point. That is a stellar point, Mrs. Vogt. And I tell you what, I look at the clock. I can't believe it, but we need a break already. So I'll ask you this. Did I get to everything, Mrs. Vogt, you wanted to put out there for us today? Was there anything that you didn't say that you wanted to?
I think I have said everything that I wanted to say, Seth.
That is Mrs. Mary Vogt. She is the superintendent of Bement Schools, my guest on the phone here for this morning. We've got more to come with her here on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn lower, beans slightly higher, wheat trading lower at this hour. December corn 6.94 3/4 down 3. March corn down 3 1/4, 7.01 3/4. May corn 7.02 1/2 down 3 1/4. November beans 13.97 1/2 up 1 3/4. January beans up a penny 14.06 1/2. March beans 14.14 1/2 up 3/4. December wheat 8.84 1/4 down 8. March wheat down 8, $9 1/2. October bean meal 418.50, that's down 3.30. October bean oil 70.01 up 84 cents. In the livestock market, October feeders 173.82 down 92 cents. October live cattle 146.52 up 7 cents. And October lean hogs 93.50 up 7 cents. In the energy market, November crude oil 86.04 down 3.07. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network.
This is Connie from Love It Once More Thrift Store in Clinton. Did you know we're a nonprofit thrift store helping local people in need? We're only able to do this when people like you shop and donate. Follow us on Facebook or DeWittDailyNews.com to hear our weekly sales.
Hi, this is Ryan Utterback at Utterback Real Estate, and we've got you covered.
It's finally time for pumpkin spice and coveralls.
No, I mean covering all of our buyers and sellers' needs.
Like pumpkin spice coffee and caramel covered apples.
And that's why you're the other Ryan.
Get covered by clicking the Utterback Real Estate icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Life is uncertain. Stop in and see me, State Farm Agent Jason France, on the west side of the Clinton Square, or click our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com and see how our full lineup of State Farm insurance and financial services can help protect your family.
Local farm broadcaster Jared White covers the local agriculture news you need to know. Hear his reports by downloading the free WHOW mobile app.
Every farmer feeds the world. A few take it further. Farmers who partner with Benson Hill to plant our high-protein, non-GMO soybeans do just that. Some Benson Hill soybean varieties are higher in protein right out of the ground, contributing to more sustainable food manufacturing. Others can produce higher quality cooking oils or have special attributes for the growing aquaculture industry. The majority of farmers in our program earn more per acre planting Benson Hill soybeans than commodity beans. 2023 contracts are now available. Visit BensonHillFarmers.com to earn more.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show is streaming to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Mrs. Mary Vogt is the superintendent of Bement Schools, my guest on the phone today. Mrs. Vogt, let's talk budget. As the budget time has, I know the fiscal year has recently wrapped up and starting to think about the next fiscal year and those sorts of things. So how's the budget looking in Bement?
Our budget is stable. We finished up last year positive, which is fantastic. I can't remember if I've mentioned this to you before. When Dr. Sheila Greenwood took over, there was enough cash on hand for 34 days of operation if we did not receive any more funding. And when she retired, there were over 300 days of cash on hand. So she left the district in fantastic shape. And we are also enjoying an increase in CPPRT funds. Mm-hmm. So typically we rely on property taxes as our main source of income, evidence-based funding as well from the state. But with CPPRT, we received, I'll just go ahead and say it, it's public knowledge, $50,000 this last week, which is the most Bement has ever received in any one single payment. Mm-hmm. So I made the mistake of saying to the secretary, well, we're going to tucked that away for a rainy day. And she looked out the window and said, well, it's a rainy day.
Yeah.
But we should maybe head down the road to Dairy Queen. But I told her that wasn't the rainy day I had in mind.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we're very fortunate that we have those extra funds coming in because, Seth, you're well aware the cost of living is really skyrocketing. And what we are realizing, and most districts are in the same boat, legislation says that by the beginning of next school year, the minimum base salary for a teacher is $40,000. Mm-hmm. So they've also tied our hands because you can't have over a 6% increase in salary from one year to the next without the district paying a penalty to the teacher retirement system. Mm-hmm. So we really have to carefully navigate making sure that the educators can survive off of the salary that they make, mm-hmm. and also make sure that we're not putting our district in a financial bind by having a penalty from the teacher retirement system. So we're thankful for that money through CPPRT, and we're hopeful that we keep on that trend of receiving more than we typically do. Bement's the size of district where we're not going to focus on facility improvement as far as building new sports centers or replacing with a turf field. Mm-hmm, we are not able to do that. Mm-hmm. But this money will help us so that we can keep our doors open. And again, circling back around, honoring those traditions that have been established in the community. Mm-hmm. And that's where we will work very carefully to make sure that we live within our means, mm-hmm. while also acknowledging the hard work that our staff does.
Mrs. Vogt, what is the breakdown of, like those CPPRT dollars, local tax dollars, state financial or state dollars? Like, what's the breakdown in your district of those? And not like to the dollar and cent, but say like maybe a ballpark percentage.
And Seth, that's something my hope is in the next couple of years, I could just rattle all of that off. But right now, I can tell you that most of our dollars do come from the property tax. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of it, we rely on grant funds. We rely on the CPPRT and then also the state aid. But I don't want to throw percents out there because honestly, I would be guessing, not ballparking, and I don't want to put false information out there. But right. The next time we talk, I could have those numbers for you.
Well, Mrs. Vogt, I'm just disappointed. You're 4 months into this gig and you just can't rattle that off for me. I mean, goodness gracious.
I can't. I can tell you though that we have received. We're right on track with being 25% into the fiscal year. We have received 25% of the funding needed for our ed fund. We have received more than we were anticipating for this time of year for transportation, but that's because we are getting payments from last fiscal year in this fiscal year's budget. So I can tell you some of those details, but not specific questions.
That's
something as a superintendent, you don't just make things up.
Well, and that also speaks to the learning curve. I mean, it's there's so much on your plate that, like you said, maybe next month you'll know it or whatever the case may be. So no, it's understandable. Like I'm not going to, hold your feet to the fire over it. I was just kind of curious. Absolutely. But Mrs. Vogt, I look at the clock. I can't believe it. I already got to let you go. How do folks follow along with all the things happening in your school district?
They can log on to our district website. It is www.bement. Let me make sure I get all of the correct lingo here. Bement.k12.il.us.
That is Mrs. Mary Vogt. She is the superintendent of Bement Schools. My guest on the phone today. Network news on the way on the WHOW Morning Show.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, 92.3 FM, W222 BG Clinton, 106.